Okay, good morning, Theater 1 class. Today is Wednesday, December 19th, and we are continuing our discussion about the golden age of American radio and how Wolfpack Theater's current production of It's a Wonderful Life is an example of this golden age of American radio. So what I would like everybody to do is, I got lots of people joining us today. Okay, give me just a sec, guys. If you're live here in class, turn off your sound, please. Perfect, thank you. Okay, so we are going to go to Schoology, and we're gonna go to that assignment on Tuesday, 12/8, where it says attend or watch class and begin the assignment on the golden age of American radio. And just a quick note, please do not try to finish this without attending live class or watching the daily videos this week. You will not be able to complete the portions of this without the live feed in class of It's a Wonderful Life today and tomorrow. So let's have everybody open up that project-based learning with It's a Wonderful Life. And yesterday, we listened to this wonderful podcast made by the Kennedy Center about the golden age of radio drama. We got to experience a little bit of the horror genre of the golden age of radio. And we talked a lot about how very, very powerful sound is to our experience of film and theater. And, you know, it's one of the reasons that podcasts are becoming so popular again. So we watched that video yesterday, and then I'm going to give you a couple of minutes just to make sure that you have done a thorough answer here. This should not be done in just like keywords or anything like that. What I really want is a thoughtful response to, according to the video, what is the role of sound in radio? An incorrect answer would be something like, well, radio has to have sound. Okay, yes, you are correct. But let's move beyond the literal. What is the role of sound in radio as a storytelling device? That's how I want you to answer that question. So I'm going to give us about 2 minutes, and I'm going to walk around the room and make sure that people have this open. And if you only have one sentence, I want you to think a little bit more deeply. What is the role of sound as a storytelling device in radio? So 2 minutes. All right. Any brave souls wish to share what the role of sound is as a storytelling device? If you're watching from home, you could put it in the chat. If you're here live with me in class, I may call on you. Rita, yes. What is the role of sound as a storytelling device in radio?
Create an entire world based off of sound.
Nice. Nice. I'm sorry, did I cut you off or?
No.
Okay, so Rita said to create an entire world based on sound. Absolutely, what a good answer. Nathan, what do you think? Ooh, I like that. To show the character's emotions so that the listener can understand what's going on, but also feel what's going on. Very, very good. Faith, yes. Oh, such a good answer. Yes, that sound brings the story to life and it makes the listener feel like they are a part of the story. Oh, such good answers. You guys, any other thoughts? Yes. Oh, I love it. I'm going to share that second part, that it really piques the listener's attention. It grabs our attention. Absolutely. Really good answers. So excellent. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right. So then what does the narrator in the video mean by theater of the mind? Did any of you guys get an answer for this one yet? Do we need a couple of minutes? Raise your hand if you even need like a couple of minutes. Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to give you about 2 minutes. Those of you watching from home, let's take about 2 minutes. What does the narrator of the video mean by theater of the mind? Think about what we think of, what we've learned about what theater is, right? So what does theater of the mind mean? 2 minutes. Okay, go ahead and add a slide to it. That's so weird. I must have edited it after I Oh, so students are reporting that you guys don't have access to this one. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to add this slide. What you can do actually is copy and paste this slide and then just type, what does the narrator in the video mean by theater of the mind? I'm so sorry about that. Are you guys all able to do that? Yeah. Perfect. You do. I wonder if it was, because I edited it about an hour after class yesterday, so I wonder if that's why, like if you opened it afterwards. Yeah, but you guys all got it now? Cool. Take about 1 more minute. Okay, come to a stopping point. So what does the narrator in the video mean by theater of the mind? How could you put that in your own words? Somebody in class here with me. Don't be shy, guys. Rita, yes.
Possibly to manipulate our imaginations into imagining the world they try to put in our minds.
Oh, what a good answer. Yes. So Rita said possibly manipulating our emotions to help create this world in our minds. Great answer. Any others? Going once before I call on somebody. Going twice. Anyone? Faith, what do you think? Did you get an answer?
When I was in the theater,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like if you were when you hear the stories, but it's like you're watching a show and has all these silent parts of it, but you're imagining.
Yeah, that you can, it was super simple. So what Faith kind of said was, she said she wasn't really sure, but it's kind of like you could picture everything in your mind. Yes, theater of the mind. It's like you're watching this story unfold in your mind, in your imagination. It's the same part of our brain that gets activated when we're reading a really good book. But it's even more powerful because of those sound effects and because of the effect on our brains that sound has. So very good answers, guys. Okay, so, believe it or not, in this day and age of our cell phones becoming obsolete every 2 years, our computers becoming obsolete every 2 years, in the mid or early 20th century, radio and the idea of putting stories on the radio was a new art form. It was brand new. This is before television. This is before. It's not before movies, because you had the invention of movies in the late 1800s, and you had photographs. But what radio artists figured out how to do was to bring these stories to life and engage our sound senses, right? So, this is around the same era that you have photograph recordings. They were called descriptive specialties. Sound effects were creating an environment. Vocal qualities created characterizations. And distance from the recording device, usually some kind of a microphone, could indicate performers' relative placement. So, you could have the microphone farther away from you to make it sound like you're calling from another room. So it's interesting to note that the use of radio, and I almost think it's ironic, you had this radio drama as an art form happening at the same time that motion pictures were shown without sound. And actually, that's a bit of a misnomer. Even calling it silent cinema isn't exactly correct, because movies were never silent. Typically, when people went to the movies in the early 20th century, there was a live piano player playing the score of the movie. But you didn't have what is known today as synchronous sound. That didn't happen until after 1929 with the film starring Al Jolson, the jazz singer. That was the first, what they called talkie. And actually, if you ever want a really good history lesson about that, you can watch Singing in the Rain, one of my favorite movies that talks a great deal about that. So it's very interesting that you have silent cinema existing at the same time as radio drama. Because it's almost as if once cinema had sound, had synchronous sound, while it was a couple of decades before television, it was sort of kind of, ushering in this era where radio was going to go away. Although what we see today with podcasts is that radio has never really gone away. It just wasn't the primary form of entertainment after the mid 20th century. So there's a little information here to further explain this idea of the theater of sound, where it says, just as audiences of the time were accustomed to see motion pictures without sound, they learned how to envision their own images to accompany purely audible dramas. By enlisting the support of the listener's imagination, Golden Age radio combined dialogue, sound effects, music, and occasional narration to paint images with sound. I love that expression, painting images with sound. And as a result, the best radio writers were those who thought visually and those who could create their visions through purely oral means. So, super easy question within the context of the previous slide. What does the word aural mean? Choose it by highlighting. And then after you've done that, think about this. Why might radio programming be a viable entertainment option during a pandemic? Let me give you about 2 minutes. Okay. Take about 30 more seconds, come to a stopping point. Okay, so within the context of the previous slide, what does the word aural mean? Which one is the correct answer? Aiden, tell me the correct answer for this one. Okay, but if we're just talking about radio drama, what does the word aural probably mean? Relating to the ear, exactly, yes, relating to the ear. And then think about it, why might a radio programming be a viable entertainment option during a pandemic? Nathan, what do you have? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Ooh, very good answer. You can listen to a radio program from the comfort of your own home, where many of us are stuck these days. And also, there's the recording of it that you don't have to be around other people. So, yeah, it's a very, very safe option for artists right now. In fact, the La Jolla Playhouse, the group that visited us with a field trip about a month ago, they did a whole series of audio plays called Walks of Life. Where the idea was that a person could be walking down a street um, and looking at these houses and seeing all of these different stories that are coming from these houses that sort of come out in this wave of sound as a soundscape. It's really, really cool. So very nice. Okay, so for the purposes of a theater class, one of the things that we can talk about is the difference between stage and radio acting. Um, and we have here, you know, a little description about that. Because radio actors were not required to memorize lines, rehearsals were brief and informal. I can tell you firsthand about that. Typically, rehearsals for us for a straight show, which means a show without music, we would be rehearsing from the time school got out, you know, about 3 o'clock until about 5:36 every night, and working scenes, running scenes, helping actors with memorizing lines, finding character, that sort of thing. But radio, our rehearsals for It's a Wonderful Life have been very, very different because nobody has to be memorized. So we're able to kind of tweak performances as we go along. One of our actors could read through a scene, and I may stop them before they record it and say, okay, I want you to try it this way. I want you to try it with this objective, you know, really attack this person, really verbally let them have it. Let's bring the emotion up much, much higher. And then the actor can try it again a couple of times, and whichever take works the best, that's the one that I'll use in our final performance. So in that sense, it's a great deal more like film acting. But it's also very similar to readers' theater, where actors are bringing the character to life while reading the script in front of them. So a lot different. So in the history of radio, on the day of the broadcast, actors would sit around a table and read the script aloud. This is actually called a table read. After one or two of these table readings, a dress rehearsal that included music and sound effects directly preceded the program, which was then performed live on air. Now, our production obviously is not done live. Because of the pandemic, we can't all be in the room together. Ideally, I would have loved to have done production photos in 1940s period clothing. But again, due to the pandemic, we just weren't able to do that part of it. So we really are putting this performance out, our virtual performance out, as if it were a 1940s radio show. And the best performers can do it with no rehearsal at all. And in fact, I have a couple of actors in our program who, without me even giving them any notes, they came to our table read with 5 different characters that they were playing with different voices that they had. So I'll play you a couple of examples of that today. So on your own, 2 minutes, describe two major differences between stage acting and radio acting based on what I just explained to you. 2 minutes, go. Okay, and in the interest of time, I'm going to keep going. If you're still working on this, that's absolutely okay. What I want to share with you is a clip from It's a Wonderful Life that we are still in production on. And it's actually a clip, hopefully it's going to let me open this. It's actually a clip where you have one actor playing multiple roles in a way that we never would have been able to capture on stage, the same way that we can with a radio show. So let's see if I can find the moment for you. My internet's running a bit slow today. There we go. Okay. Okay, hang on one sec.
The building and loan business, along with George's uncle Billy. Lovable fellow, just forget. Lovable fellow, just forgetful is all.
And we're still in the process of editing all of these things. So let's see here. Okay.
Lovable fellow, just forget. Lovable fellow, just forgetful is all. That's Henry F. Potter, the richest and meanest man in all town. Mr. Bailey, Mr. Bailey, Mr. Bailey. There is nothing quite so lonesome as a family business. Now, Peter, you know what I'm here for. I'm on a very tight schedule. A family to be picked at 3. Okay then, Mr. Potter. Here's the thing. I just need a little more time. Just 30 short days. I'll take up the 5,000 somehow. Have you put any real pressure on those people of yours to pay their mortgages? Times are hard, Mr. Potter. A lot of people are out of work. Then foreclose. I can't do that. These families have children. They're not my children. But they're somebody's children, Mr. Potter. Are you running a business or a charity board? Oh, all right. Not with my money. Mr. Potter, what makes you such a hard-souled character? You have a family, no children. You can't begin to spend all the money you've got. So I suppose I should give it to miserable failures like you and that idiot brother of yours to spend for me. George.
Okay, so that's a little clip of part of our show that I'm still in the process of editing. But this one definitely takes a lot of careful timing because that is one actor who's playing 3 different parts. He is playing Joseph, the head angel. He's also playing Mr. Potter, the villain in the show. And he's also playing Peter Bailey, our hero's father. And with just little variations in his voice, he's been able to come up with different sounds to differentiate his characters in the show. He's also playing at least 4 other characters in our show as well that was really common in the days of American radio. So as you can imagine, that's 3 plus 4 others. So we're looking at, I think it's about 6 to 7 different roles that this actor with Wolfpack Theater is playing. And, you know, it would be, you know, almost absurd to have him on stage having a conversation back and forth with himself. But if we're thinking in terms of radio drama and in terms of readers' theater, it's very common that this sort of thing happens. It's very common for audiences to be able to suspend their disbelief and allow themselves to use their imaginations when they're listening to a radio program. So that's some information there. And then tomorrow we'll be talking about sound effects. We'll be talking about what is known as Foley artistry, which has to do with the creation of live sound effects. And I can actually, you know, show you something that I just did a recording of today. There's a number of instances in the show that use an old-fashioned telephone, you know, even older than this, really. But it's the kind of thing that we just don't really recognize for sound anymore. But the dialing of a rotary phone is one of our sound effects. The picking up of a receiver and the putting down of a receiver. So we'll be talking a lot more about sound effects and Foley artistry tomorrow in class. So hopefully you enjoyed this. Remember, please don't try to finish all of this on your own. You do need to attend class or watch the video so you can hear snippets of It's a Wonderful Life that I'll be playing in class. They are not available online for you because we're still in the process of editing. And I invite anyone who wants to experience the whole show to purchase our tickets. There is information on our Instagram account. I'll be posting information on Schoology. And it's a wonderful way to not only support Wolfpack Theater, which you are a member of by virtue of being in the class, but also support your fellow students and you know, do something to help arts in education, which is really important. So that is what I have for you today. Thank you very much for attending class, and I'll see you tomorrow.